If you're in pain right now, you need to hear this. Nothing is wrong with you. You're not breaking down. You're waking up. But almost nobody ever tells you this. Pain isn't a punishment. Pain is the moment your old identity cracks. So the real you can finally come through. And once you understand this, everything changes. Pain is not what you think it is. Pain is not the end of your story. Pain is the beginning of your return to yourself. You see, for most of your life you were taught that pain means failure. That if you feel lost or confused or exhausted, something must be wrong with you. But the truth is much simpler and far more powerful. Pain is information. Pain is a message from your deeper self saying, hey, something in your life is no longer aligned with who you really are. Pain shows up when you've outgrown a version of yourself. It rises when you pretend. It intensifies when you betray your own truth. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the messenger. Pain always shows up on time, never early, never late. It arrives at the exact moment you try to live a life that no longer fits your soul. Stay in the wrong relationship long enough and pain grows louder. Work a job that drains your spirit long enough and pain grows heavier. Pretend to be someone you're not long enough and pain becomes unbearable. Carl Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. He wasn't being dramatic, he was being precise. Pain is the beginning of consciousness. Pain is the crack where the light gets in. Pain is the point where the unconscious becomes impossible to ignore. And this is why your breakdown is actually your breakthrough. When your identity collapses, it feels like everything is falling apart. But this is the nature of awakening. Your old beliefs fall apart. Your old coping mechanisms fall apart. Your avoidance falls apart. Your illusions fall apart. The version of you that survived your past cannot guide you into your future, so it begins to die, and that death feels like pain. But here's the truth. Nothing real in you is dying. Only the false is dying. Only the outdated is dying. Only the version of you built from fear, conditioning, and survival is dying. What remains is your essence. Eckhart Tolle speaks about the pain body. He explains that the emotional energy stored in you wakes up when your life is misaligned. David Hawkins says that lower emotional states are not failures, but simply signals of consciousness trying to move upward. Alan Watts says suffering is created not by the moment itself, but by your resistance to the moment. 3 different languages, 3 different philosophies. One simple truth: pain is the soul's alarm clock. It wakes you up when you've been asleep too long. Pain becomes unbearable the moment you outgrow yourself. The old identity becomes too tight. The old life becomes too small. The old patterns stop working. It feels like you're falling apart, but in reality you're breaking open. Alan Watts once said, "You are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago." And yet we cling so tightly to our past selves that the only way life can move us is through pain. This is why pain feels like pressure, because it's pushing you out of a self that is too small for who you are becoming. It's pushing you into authenticity, into alignment, into honesty, into presence. Pain is a compass. It always points. It points toward what you've outgrown. It points toward what is false. It points toward what you need to release. It points toward what your soul is asking you to become. Instead of asking, why does this hurt? Ask, what is this pain pointing to? What truth am I not admitting? What part of me is trying to wake up? Because pain is accurate. Pain is honest. Pain doesn't lie. Pain doesn't pretend. Pain doesn't negotiate. It tells you exactly where your growth is, exactly where your boundaries are, exactly where your soul is asking for change. The moment you stop resisting your pain, something shifts. When you resist pain, it turns into suffering. When you allow pain, it turns into clarity. You begin to see what your pain has been trying to show you all along. You realize you're not the pain, you're the awareness noticing it. You're the space in which the pain arises. You're the consciousness behind the experience. And when you stop running from the pain, you create space. Space for honesty, space for truth, space for healing, space for awakening. There is a quiet moment, a very subtle moment, when pain stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like guidance. That moment is the beginning of your awakening. You stop begging life to go back to how it was. You stop trying to resuscitate an old identity. You stop pretending you don't know what you know. You finally breathe. You finally accept. You finally see clearly. And something inside you whispers, this is the beginning. Awakening doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like coming home. It feels like returning to yourself after being lost for years. It feels like remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Awakening begins with honesty. Honesty with yourself about what hurts. Honesty about what no longer fits. Honesty about what you truly want. Honesty about what your soul is done tolerating. Pain cracks you open, and through that crack truth enters. And once you taste truth, you can never go back to pretending. You begin to choose differently. You begin to live differently. You begin to move differently. Your energy shifts. Your awareness deepens. Your sense of self expands. You begin to trust your intuition. You begin to respect your emotions. You begin to honor your needs. You begin to speak your truth. You begin to set boundaries. You begin to let go. You begin to understand that healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before you were hurt. It's about returning to your essence. It's about shedding everything that is not you. And in that process, you discover something profound. Your pain was never trying to destroy you. It was trying to wake you. It was trying to align you. It was trying to bring you back to yourself. So if you're in pain right now, don't run from it. Don't judge it. Don't numb it. Sit with it. Listen to it. Ask it what it wants you to know. Because your pain is not the end. Your pain is the door. Your pain is the beginning of the version of you that you were always meant to become. A version of you that is honest. A version of you that is awake. A version of you that is whole. If this message reached you, it reached you at the right moment. Thank you for spending this moment with me. Keep seeking. Your soul knows the way.